and you conserve is not whatever is yours.
Yeah, so revolutionary greetings to all of you, comrades. Welcome to our consensus class or conscience in class. This is our one of our main study class for our conscience study group. As a conscience study group, we carry out various activities. There are more that are coming up of various programs. And conscience study class of reading and discussion of the book Consciousness by Kwame Nkrumah, The Philosophy and Ideology for Decolonizing Africa, is our main class and main activity as a grouping. So today, as we know, in last week, we started at chapter 3 of Consciousness. The chapter 3 is about society and ideology. So we finished the first paragraph in our last reading, and in this reading today, we will go on with the second paragraph moving forward. All our recordings of the previous classes are available on our YouTube channel, including the last week recording. So today, permit me to welcome members who are already present with us, right from South Africa, General Nunaki, Brother Sam, Sister Tapua, Sir Windhoek. I see the southern part of Africa is fully represented. The north, the west, and probably the east is missing, but also Elder Barry is here with us, who is actually also part of the diaspora Africa. So thank you very much, and once again, feel most welcome. Now, we will start as usually by reading, and then we will share our thinking in regards to the reading. So today, permit me to do the reading, then I'll also share some of the few issues that are in line to our discussion, then we can open up the conversation for us to share our thinking. As this reading is actually the continuation of the previous reading, so maybe if I connect first of all the previous reading, which is the first paragraph, Nkrumah started by saying that in the last chapter, I tried to show and confirm by test cases that philosophy always arose from a social milieu, and that a social contention is always present in its either explicitly or implicitly. A social milieu affects the content of philosophy, and the content of philosophy seeks to affect social milieu, either by conforming it or by opposing it. In either case, philosophy implies something of the nature of an ideology. In the case where the philosophy confirms a social milieu, it implies something. In the case in which philosophy, it implies something of the ideology of that society. In other case in which philosophy opposes a social milieu, it implies something of the ideology of a revolution against that social milieu. Therefore, philosophy in its social aspect can therefore be regarded as pointing up an ideology. That is our previous reading. Now, in our today's class, we will now read the paragraph that's highlighted. And Nkrumah starts by referring to Mazzini. He says, on the motto page of my book, Toward Colonial Freedom, on the motto page of my book, Towards Colonial Freedom, I make the following quotation from Mazzini. He says, every true revolution is a program and derived from a new general, positive, and organic principle. The first thing necessary is to accept that principle. It says, its development must then be confined to men who are believers in it and emancipated from every tie or connection with any principle of an opposite nature. Let me reread that quote again. Every true revolution is a program and it derived from a new, general, positive, and organic principle. The first thing necessary is to accept that philosophy, its development must then be confined to men who are believers in it and emancipated from every tie or connection with any principle of an opposite nature. Now here, Mazzini asserts the connection between a revolution and an ideology. When the revolution has been successful, the ideology comes to characterize the society. It is the ideology which gives countenance to the ensuing social milieu. Mazzini further states the principle to be general, positive, and organic. The statement, elucidation, and theoretical defense of such a principle will collectively form a philosophy. Hence, philosophy are the means of being an instrument of ideology. That's our reading for today. So permit me to run through some few issues that we are to discuss. Now, here we are actually going to look at the key issues for our discussion. One is we are going to look at revolution as revolution and ideology. So Mazzini's view that revolutions are programs rooted in ideology is part of our discussion, like how ideology defines the character and goal of a revolutionary society. Nkrumah's adaptation of this concept to the African anti-colonial and Pan-African struggle. We are also going to look in our discussion in the same text the nature of a revolutionary principle and why Mazzini insists on a principle that is general, positive, and organic, and the importance of philosophy in defending and articulating revolutionary principles. 3, we are going to look at the commitment to the principle, which is also discussed here, which is the Mazzini's call for revolutionaries to be emancipated from opposing principles. So the challenges of maintaining ideological purity in the face of neocolonial influences, the implication for Pan-African unity, and 4th, we are going to look at the philosophy as an instrument of ideology. So how philosophy translates principles into actionable ideologies, and how Nkrumah's consciousnm as a philosophical framework for African revolutions, the relevance of this approach to the contemporary African challenges. Some of the discussion questions include, how does Mazzini's idea that every true revolution is a program applies to African liberation movements? And 2 is, what ideologies have shaped successful African revolution, and what lessons can we draw from it today? Why does Mazzini emphasizes that a revolutionary principle must be general, must be positive, and must be organic? And how can we ensure that revolutionary principles remain relevant in addressing modern issues? What does it mean for revolutionaries to be emancipated from every tie of connection with any principle of an opposite nature? And basically, last thing is how can consciousness serve as a philosophical tool for Pan-African ideology? And what are the risks of a revolution lacking a clear philosophical foundation? And how can African intellectuals and activists today develop philosophies or applies philosophy to support the ideology of African unity? So this is part of what we are going to discuss today, comrades. and welcome once again to our session. To those who have joined us as we have started our discussion, like Sister Ida, feel most welcome, Sister Ida, and Tema Foley also feel most welcome to be with us today. So I've read the paragraph that's highlighted. It's our time to go through the list as usual and ask members what do they think. I'll start basically with our elder. Elder Ndadema Foley, having been in the struggle for long, how do you see this revolution, that the revolution must be a program? What do you think about it, Elder Mafole? And Elder Sam, please share with us your thinking with the experience also in the struggle.
Can I go?
Yes, Elder Sam.
Yeah, evening everybody. Just my little input. I think first, for me, I want to start in the beginning to question, or not question, to raise the issue that is it a mistake, or why did Kwame prefer to give this quotation by Mazzini? As far as I know, Mazzini is an Italian person. There are other revolutionaries in Africa. Kwame Nkrumah could have used those, but I think from where we started, we can see that Kwame is trying to broadly educate us from all different angles. And that's why I believe he brought in Mazzini, because Mazzini not only revolted in Italy, he ended up in exile, and he still continued to wage the revolution. So I think this is a plus where Nkrumah is trying to give us various examples of this thing that he's trying to teach us. And secondly, yes, it must be a program. A program must have, it must be a plan. It must have a beginning. It must have the middle sector. It must be the end. And as we have come to know, the revolution never ends. When you say you are at the end, you are actually beginning another revolution, because once you break this movement, then retrogression gets in. And that's why this must be a program. Thank you.
Thank you, Elder Sam. Just to explain more about Mazzini, Mazzini, as Elder Sam has said, was actually an Italian. He was born in 22nd June, 1805, and died on 10th March, 1872. He was a politician, a journalist, and an activist, but he was an activist for the unification of Italy. I think that's why Nkrumah is trying to bring him here. He was an activist for the unification of Italy, and he spearhead of the Italian Revolution movement. His efforts helped to bring the independent and unified Italy in place of several separate states, many dominated by foreign powers that existed until the 19th century. So an Italian nationalist in the historical radical tradition and a proponent of republicanism, of social democrat inspiration, Mazzini helped to define the modern European movement for popular democracy in a republic state. So basically, Mazzini then comes in with his actually efforts towards pushing for the unification of Italy. So Mazzini's thoughts had been a very considerable influence on the Italian and European republican movements. In the Constitution of Italy, about Europeanism, and more nouns on many political of later period, among the American writers like Woodrow Wilson and others. So basically, Mazzini was an activist whose ideology was basically to advocate for unity of Italy, a united, free, and independent Italy. So Elder Sam, I can see maybe why Nkrumah out of bringing Mazzini at this particular moment, or even quoting Mazzini at the start of this, based on his contribution as well to the Italian Revolution. Elder Sam?
I agree fully with your inputs, Pigeon, and I think I'm resting now. Thanks.
Okay, welcome. Brother Kwame, I know you joining us. You haven't connected your audio, but feel free to come in anytime if you can. Let's get to Raspala. Young please share with us your thinking.
Hey, son of the lake, good times, man. Blessed. Yes, my lord. Okay, I'll share on that last sentence there that says, hence philosophy admits being an instrument of ideology. Yeah, I think, was it last week? I think it was last week when we even explained what the social milieu is. I think one of the comments I made was specifically this last sentence, or it alluded to this last sentence, that ultimately philosophy is in Latin basically means the love of wisdom, of which wisdom is application of solutions. Then obviously the Greeks, when they got when we taught them philosophy, so to say, in the universities and stuff, and then when they brought it back to their own application, obviously in Greece, to make an example about the Greeks. So in their organizations, on their conventions, when they discussed with their own political issues, obviously their different ideologies came into play. Yeah, well. So I want to agree with that statement of what Kwame is telling us there. Yes, my man. Thanks.
And General Naki, thank you for that. But before you leave, could you comment on this statement that says that in the quote of Mazzini, that every true revolution is a program and derived from a new, general, positive, and organic principle? What can you say about that?
Yeah. It's true, my man. It's true. It is a program. Yeah. Because if you can, for instance, let's make an example about our class, CSG. Is it not a program? It's a program of Pan-Africanism. So I think it's true. And also that organic principle is most important, because I think that's the one that basically gives us the different ideologies we might have, but which are not detached from the core principles of what Pan-Africanism is. So I think, yeah, I say on this one of every true revolution is a program. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Now, in comparison with our class consciousness and General Nonaki, as I was saying, like our class is a program. Now, do you see also CSG as a revolution beyond being a program? So it's a revolutionary program.
Most definitely.
Okay, if it is so, General Nonaki, then how do you comment in the next paragraph? Because the next sentence says that then the first thing necessary is to accept that principle. The principle that either the revolution is organic.
Yeah. Yes.
And then it must be confined.
Yes.
What do you think, General Nonaki, on that?
Yeah, before General Nonaki continues, let me clarify something. So the principle here should be the principle that we already came across in chapter 2. Because remember, chapter 2 clarified for us the relationship between philosophy and society. And in chapter 2, we were clear that there were only two fundamental principles. Yeah, they are the principle of idealism, which is that spirits and ideas constitute our universe, or the principle of materialism, which says that matter constitutes our universe. Those principles are the principles that we came across in chapter 2, which was exemplified using different philosophers. So in chapter 3, which we are beginning to read, we're now looking at the relationship between society and ideology. But let's bear in mind that the basis of an ideology is philosophy. So what philosophy are we talking about? As we said, there are two main ones.
So the principles can also be a philosophy, Brother Kwame.
Sorry?
The principle can then also be the philosophy in this context.
Yeah, the philosophy has a principle in it. So the philosophy is, if you like, explains the philosophy. So when we, for example, we're looking at what Plato said, or what Aristotle said, or what this person said, what Thales said, what were we doing? We were explaining, we were elucidating, we were explaining, we were exposing, we were understanding the principle. So when Thales says, sorry about the background noise. So when Thales says that water, which is matter, is that which constitutes the universe. When he says that, when we are having that discussion, we are doing what? That is a principle he's put forward. That how do you explain the universe? Well, it's water. That's what he says. So that's the principle. That principle is matter. So the principle that I'm suggesting to you that the principle we are talking about here the philosophy comes from chapter 2. So let's keep the link in mind. Yeah, in chapter 1, philosophy in retrospect. What is philosophy? Well, there are only two. In chapter 2, we looked at philosophy and society. Then now we are in chapter 3. Here is a society. What is its ideology? In other words, how does it apply the principle? That's what we are looking at. Thank you. So I'll clarify that and then we continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Kwame. Donald Naki, please go ahead and finish your train of thought.
Yes, my God. Actually, Elder Kwame has made a very important statement there. Yeah. So basically, me what I was talking about was referring to this text here that says philosophy admits of being an instrument of ideology. That was my initial comment, and then on this one now of it's the program, it being a program revolution. I also said most yes, there I agree that yeah, it is a program of Pan-Africanism. And so as now Elder Kwame just gave us this explanation, I also lean on that explanation as well. That when we talk about organic principles, obviously of the true revolution, we're talking about materialism, basically. Yes, I agree on that.
Thank you. It's very important, Brother Kwame, and as more members will come in, it's very important that in this quotation by Mazeni, whom I've explained was actually an activist and an advocate for unified Italy, and who championed a lot for the unification of Italy, it's very important that in his quote, there's an element of true revolution, every true revolution, which means there are revolutions. And he said every true revolution is a program. I know people think that revolution is just parodic. It's an event that happened once and it's done. But then there's an element of every true revolution, which means there's a false revolution or counter-revolution, which appears to be a revolution in any way. But let me get to other members to share their thinking. Sawindok?
Yes, Brother Pigeon.
Yeah, please share with us what you think.
You see, a true revolution is a program derived from a new. That's just where I want to put emphasis on. From a new. The Gen Z in Kenya embarked on a revolution. Was that it? Was that a revolution?
The question was, was it a true revolution based on this?
No. True or false? I don't want it to be qualified, but was it a revolution?
It can be, because initially, Nkrumah, as described in the previous chapter, the revolution is a rise against the old order and a competition for a new order.
Okay. If it was, it means it did not succeed. And if it didn't succeed, will the Gen Z be able to revive that revolution on the basis of that principle? Or has that principle, it having been new when it started, has it lapsed? Or can it be revived and culminate in a new revolution? I don't even know whether I understand myself. If somebody understands me, please help me. Because the issue was about tax. And he didn't see the revolution through. Can they regroup and revive that tax issue and it becomes a revolution until it is seen through?
Sorry, I would like to help, but I don't understand. I miss some of the things that Welcome said. Welcome, you asked whether something was a revolution. Can you ask that question again? Because I missed it. Sorry, I'm on the train, so I'm not at home. Sorry about that. Yeah, go on. Thank you.
The Gen Z in Kenya, when there was an uprising some 3 months ago, if I'm not wrong, was that a revolution? Which I believe it was, but which they could not see it through. It did not succeed, so to say.
So your question was whether it was a revolution or not?
Yes. And I believe it.
Not whether it was true or false, but was it a revolution?
Yeah.
That was your question.
And my belief is, while at the same time I'm asking, somehow I believe it was a revolution.
Okay.
Right. Now, that revolution, if it was a revolution, it was based on the tax issues, but it did not succeed.
It was based on what? Sorry, I missed that word. It was based on tax regime. Taxation. Right. Okay.
Yeah. So now, Mancini, every true revolution is a program and derived from a new, and putting my emphasis on new. That tax regime that caused the revolution was new by then. Has it lapsed now? Can it be revived and culminate in a new revolution until it is successful?
Thank you. I think I've understood what you're saying. But what were you seeking clarification on? But you seem to be very clear in your own views.
Now, Bosca is trying to pose a question.
What was the question?
On those questions, he's asking whether it was new and the rest. But I think there's an element of Sawindo picking new without finishing the process, because whatever is new, whatever is general, whatever is positive and organic is the principle. So as you had explained before, Brother Kami, that principle, the character of the principle is that it's new, it's general, it's positive, and it's organic.
So what if it is not new?
Then it is not a revolution. A revolution in principle. So let's all be clear what a revolution is. It's not about killing people. It's not about shooting people. It's not about violence. It's not about going on strikes. It is not about demonstrations. It's not necessarily about that. All those. It, it can include those things, but it need not be, killings and stabbing people and abducting people. They can involve that, but that is not what a revolution is. Philosophically, a revolution is when the general, positive, and organic principle that is the basis of organizing a society is changed. That is when there's a revolution. That's what it means philosophically.
So,
as we've explained, sorry.
So when it's changed, it's what it leads to new. So that's when the new element comes.
Precisely, yes. When it's changed, then it becomes new. And there are only two principles on which you can govern, on which you can organize a society. The first principle is that all men, and here I include male and female, are unequal. They have never been, they will never be. There will always be hierarchy. That's the first, that's one of the principles. And that principle is derived from the philosophy of idealism. Now, the second principle is that all humans are equal. This is something that Ubuntuism subscribes to, even though it confuses itself by saying that it is spirituality. That's because it's philosophically confused. But if it understands that all human beings are equal, now if all human beings are equal, then Ubuntuism as a philosophical position of that principle cannot therefore be saying that Ubuntu is spirituality. That is philosophical confusion. We will come to that later. But the point I'm making is that the principle here is that all men, male and female, are equal. And therefore, when you organize the society, you organize it on the basis that all are equal. So, when the imperialists arrived in Africa and told the people of what is today Kenya, okay, can you bring your titles, your title deeds to the lands of Kenya to prove that you own them? And then they couldn't. So then they said, well, now all the land belongs to this woman who lives thousands of miles away. All the land now belong to her. And this person is one individual. This one individual now owns all the land in Kenya. It means that what he's saying is that fundamentally, we are all now not equal. Now, before that happened, remember that the land of Kenya belonged to the people of Kenya. And no one person owned all the land or most of the land. The land was on, those who are from Kenya can tell us. The land was owned, it was used, and so on by all the people of Kenya. So in other words, what imperialists did was to foster a revolution on us, an imperialist revolution. So I hope I've explained what philosophically it means, what a revolution means in principle. Okay, it is a general, positive, and organic principle, of which there are only two, as far as humans are concerned. It's either we are all equal or we are all unequal. If we are all equal, that is materialism. If we are all unequal, that is idealism. So I'm having a dig at the Ubuntuists, although they don't want me to call them that. Those who are pro-Ubuntu and saying that Ubuntu is spirituality, they are confused. Because if they are saying that all humans are equal, that is materialism. That is asserting the primacy of matter. And so when
Okay.
So what we want in Africa is a return to the governing principle before the criminals arrived and forced a revolution on us. And that governing principle is that we are all equal. We no one is above society. Society is, if you like, supreme, and we are all members of that society. Idealism, some versions of it, even believe that there's no such thing as society. Anyway, let me stop there, because I think I've
Yeah. Thank you, Brother Kwame. You are welcome to the Ubuntu session tomorrow for an extensive discussion.
Oh, yeah, I will be there. Because
Yeah.
I think there's too much. We need.
Yeah.
We
You're welcome for
need.
that discussion tomorrow.
Yes.
Sawindok.
We need ideological clarity.
Yes. So, Sawindok, I think Brother Kwame has explained the element of what is new in your sharing of your thoughts. Whatever is new is that general, positive, and organic. When the revolution takes place, then that principles, when it's overturned, it creates a new system, and that new system is what is called revolution. The opposite of a revolution probably will need to be a reform. Not actually the opposite, but the reverse of creating the old or returning back to the old is the reform.
Yeah, if the principle is there, and I think I explained this in the some time ago, that if the governing principle in African society was that we are all equal, even though that's not the word we use, it's called philosophical materialism. That's what it's called. It's just a name, how it's called. Now, if that is a governing principle, then if after all that the criminals have done to us, we want to return to that principle, as some people talk about Sankofa. Sankofa literally is an Akan. Sankofa literally means, Sanko means go back. Kofa means go and take. So Sankofa basically means go and take back that which you have lost, that which was taken away, that which was bastardized, however it was, you go back and take it. That is Sankofa. Now, that is reform. That is not a revolution, because you are asserting a principle that that was there but had been either illegally, illegitimately, whatever, removed or changed without your consent. One can argue, and of course, one can argue that, well, if that is the case, if they have imposed a new principle on me, and I want to change that to my old principle, then that is also new. So you can make that argument. And maybe it is valid to say that well, in that case, if they've changed this principle and it's now that other principle, and then I am going back to the old principle that was removed, then I am also engaged in a revolution. That argument can be made, and we can understand why the argument is being made, and we have no problem with that kind of argument.
Okay.
I personally have no problem with anybody arguing like that, because there's a sense in which it makes sense.
Okay. So let me finish with Sawindok first. Sawindok, kindly finish your thoughts, or your thought line, or your thought process, then we can get to Brother Coco and Sister Ida also.
Yeah. Last time I asked, between philosophy and ideology, which one overarches the other? And the closing sentence of this paragraph says, hence philosophy admits of being an instrument of ideology, whereby I would have understood it to be the other way around.
Yeah. So we know, just so you know, we had lengthy discussions on this very paragraph, because this is not the first time we are reading and discussing the book, and you've identified something that you're also familiar with, which is dialectics. Dialectics is contradiction, where something can be two things at the same time. And so in this paragraph, you are coming face to face with dialectics, where you see something and then you see its contradiction, and yet at the end of the day, they are the same thing. Unfortunately, that is how life is. Life is dialectical. So philosophy gives birth to ideology, and an ideology then gives birth to philosophy, and they are like the snake that eats its own tail.
Okay.
So do you have to say, in my clear analogy, the hen gives birth to egg, and the egg is then producing the hen?
Yes. Now the question is, which one is first?
Okay.
And dialectically, you can say, well, they are both first. But for us as humans, we know that the universe was here before we arrived. So those principles were there before we arrived anyway. So we can't have, because the universe was here before we came, those two principles we have mentioned were here before we arrived. So some of us have chosen to use one, others have chosen to use the other. When you choose idealism, it then reproduces itself through idealist ideology. If you choose materialist philosophy, it reproduces itself through materialist. So if you choose materialist philosophy, it reproduces itself to materialist ideology. And so we know that is the dialectics at play.
No, honestly, on a very serious basis, I have to applaud myself.
Okay.
I have to applaud myself that I'm not too confused.
Yes, I know you're not, because you're a dialectician.
Okay. Any other thoughts from your side?
No, thank you.
Okay. Brother Coco, please come in, and I request you share your thinking in regards to the text, but you can go ahead, and I'm looking forward to the conversation on Ubuntu. Brother Kwame will come in so that we can also engage extensively. And all members who are present here, there's an Ubuntu conference that will be taking place tomorrow by New Pan-African Agenda, and it will be all about Ubuntu. So some of the questions we are having, some of the conversation we are having that have been popping up in the last two sessions of our class actually will be betterly explained or discussed in the Ubuntu forum that will be taking place tomorrow. I'll circulate the link to members who will be interested to join us in that session tomorrow. But it's hosted by Brother Coco's group called the New Pan-African Agenda. Brother Coco, please go ahead.
Sorry, Brother Pidgin. Do you have time for it, for the conference?
Myself.
Say that again.
The conference will be starting at 7:30 Central African time, because it will be, Brother Coco, is it now 6:30 UK time? Come in and please explain that a bit, as we then share your thoughts as well. I think the time has changed in UK, but you can explain.
Thank you.
5:30 UK time.
Or 5:30 UK time.
So, you mean 17?
So that should be 7:30. That should be 7:30 East African time.
That's 6:30 South African time. Look time.
Oh, that would be 7:30 East African time. 7:30, not 8:30 as I thought of it earlier. Okay.
You mean 1700 hours?
No, it is 17:30 London time, which is then around which is around 6:30, which is 18:30 Central African time. Brother Sawindo, I'll share with you that.
Thank you.
Okay. Brother Coco, you are not audible enough, so if you have to contribute, please be audible a bit, and then you share your thinking in regards to the text. Brother Coco?
Do you want Sister Ida to come in? We haven't had a female voice for a while. I had my hand up because I was worried that Brother Kwame was tying himself in knots on the question of revolution versus reform. But I think he sort of corrected that towards the end.
Okay. So then let me go to Sister Ida first, then I'll come back to you for your thoughts on the text as well. Is that okay?
Sister Ida isn't really ready. Sorry, I'm doing other things, but I am listening hard. I would have said that but Brother Kwame said something different when Brother Winlock asked us about can things be a revolution? Brother Kwame said, oh, it has to change. And I thought to myself, surely there can be revolutions where it's not ended, but it's started. So, it's a revolution in progress, even though it may be, but you can only tell that through time. So, but I don't think that just because revolutions seem to fail, that they have failed, would be my answer, that they may still be in progress, but underground. And they may change at a later date, and still, people have to start ideas. And I think some ideas come through revolution, even though they may not be completed. At least that's my opinion.
Sister Ida. Sister Ida?
Did you not hear me?
No, I want to ask you one thing before you leave.
Okay. I was thinking I was wasting my time talking to myself. Sorry, go on.
No, I know we came across a thought in our previous chapters readings that is evolution by revolution. So it means that the society evolves. And in order for the society to evolve, it must take place through revolution. And
starts, maybe.
And revolution, let me just finish the thought and ask you. The revolution, as Brother Kwame has explained, and sometimes we also came across it, revolution is not negative, just that we have a connotation of a negative revolution on how we view revolution to be violent, shooting, killing, and the rest. Yep. So if the society has to evolve through revolution, which we call strife, do you think the revolution will one day stop?
Of what? Sorry, beg your pardon?
Do you think there will be an end of a revolution? There will never be any more revolution in any time in life?
I think revolutions continue. I don't think that they stop just because there is change. I think revolutions are the start of a lot of ideas and creative thinking that moves forward. It doesn't go, it's moving society forward. At least that's what I think some revolutions do. The ones that are full of people being murdered or guillotined and stuff, they are hard revolutions. I think those are not necessary. I think there should be another word for them. I don't really know that they're revolutions. I think they're I don't know, but I don't think that it's because otherwise Hitler would claim that he had a revolution. And who sees Hitler's people consider him as war rather than revolution, even though some of his people may have thought so. And he has continued. Let me be really bold and say he has his ideas continue in the Zionist way that they're currently trying to take over not a good majority of the world, including America. So what would you say to that? Because he's 50, 55, nearly 60 years ago, and yet look at it, it's still his ideas and his sort of, I wouldn't call it revolution. That's why I think there should be a different word for those sort of things that end in so many people being done away with, whether it's the French Revolution. I mean, how do they say that's a revolution? You killed so many people and you call it a revolution. To me, I find it difficult, even though I'm used to hearing the words and even repeating them. but I don't know that they're real revolutions. So I thank you.
Thank you. We are bringing another element to the revolution as we continue the conversation, which is very important for us to look at. And it's something Brother Kwame had started by bringing as well. And it's something we have also come across, that the revolution is actually the standing against or opposing the old order and the competition to create a new order. In that definition, it doesn't mean either killing of people in order to that. So people say the end justify the means, and those do not factor it in. Somebody call it a mental revolution. Ghana gained the independent without much of bloodshed. Is it not a revolution? Well, Kenya, of course, went through the same in Mau process where many people died and lost their life. Was that not a revolution? Traore is now the new president of Burkina Faso with no much of deaths. Is it a revolution? Well, also the Sudan issue, many people died. Is it also a revolution? So those are key issues that I think we need to also keep in mind and converse as Pan-Africans on really what do we mean and what do the African revolution we want should look like. Should it engage the deaths of millions of people in order to call it a revolution? Or what means can we use to still make the end of what you want in a revolutionary format as well? So just the things I'm just throwing out of the conversation that we have to think about in our discussions. Sister Ida, do you have anything else to say?
Yeah, let me add, Sister Ida, hold on, let me add something that you might find helpful also in your discussion, because you've raised some very important points.
Brother Kwame, you are not audible enough, so please, if you can be able to start again. Okay. Brother Kwame.
Yes.
You are not audible enough. You are listening.
Is it better? Is it better?
Yeah, start. It's better. Start. Yeah, it's okay.
Is it better?
Yeah, it's better.
Yes, we can hear you better.
Yeah, I was saying that Sister Ida might find it useful as part of her comments that people think that when, for example, two groups are fighting for supremacy in politics, and then there's killings and so on, then it means that they are different. Sometimes it's the same group of people who have disagreed and are just killing each other. It has nothing to do with revolution. Nothing to do with revolution. It's just the same group of people and just fighting amongst each other for supremacy. Nothing to do with revolution. And they will call it revolution. It's not a revolution. It's just they fighting amongst themselves. So in Ghana, for instance, we had the military fighting amongst themselves. One group saying that they were wrong to go into politics, another group saying that we were right, and they started fighting among themselves. And then some call it revolution. The Armed Forces Revolutionary Council. There was nothing revolutionary about it. It was just young officers who disagreed with their seniors and decided to punish them. That's all it was. It wasn't a revolution. So I think you might find this useful, because I think the point you are making is a valid one, that killing people, calling it a revolution, is not a definition of we shouldn't just accept that as part of defining what a revolution is. Thank you. I'm going to get on the debate, so I will join when I get home. Thank you. So I'll see you all later.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay, Sister Ida, please come in to finish your thoughts, Flo, if you have still something to share.
Oh, I think I'm going to leave it for now, because it's the thought of revolution is we're encouraged to think of it as something positive, but I'm not sure that, just like Brother Kwame said about, sometimes it's just people killing each other. But the amount of death that comes is, it's something else. And also we see that I'm sure that Trump would like to think he's on a revolutionary path, but sometimes the tentacles of people in power reach far, and it shakes and affects other foundations, is all I can really say. Therefore, I think that we really need to think hard about this word. And thank you. Okay, I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Thank you, Sister, for sharing your thinking. You said you didn't have something, but you had a lot. So next time you tell me you don't have something, I'll have to push you to say a lot. That means you have a lot to say. Let me get to Sister Myra. Sister Myra, you're able to speak. I'll come to Brother Coco once I'm done with Sister Myra. Yeah, Sister Myra, please share with us your thinking as well now that you've moved to the sisters. Thomas Sankara says that there's no true revolution without the emancipation of women. And he says again that women hold the other half of the revolution. In fact, it is in line with this that we are thinking in our coming African Liberation Day that is targeting to take place on our usual African Liberation Day. We are going to have this conversation on the liberation of the women. And we look forward to women speakers who can speak about this. So this is just to send it out in advance. We are looking towards having a conference on the liberation, and it will be liberation of the women, led by women, and we're looking forward to have women speakers leading this as some of us men join in for that conversation. Sister Myra, please go ahead.
Brother Pigeon, I joined late, so I'm just catching up. I'll listen fast and then I'll perhaps have some thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Brother Coco, then you have to come in, please. Are you able, Brother Coco?
I'm on a train now, and I wonder how noisy it is. Is it noisy for you guys then?
So far, not noisy, but if you think that it can interfere with me, we can give you some time.
Okay.
So, do you want to time? You want to go ahead?
Well, if there's no one contributing at the moment, I might as well take the stage.
Yeah, your background is okay.
It's noisy. So I think let's defend to about 5 minutes. 5 minutes, I'll be at my final destination. Okay.
Okay. Come after 5 minutes.
All right.
Sister Tapua, are you now able to speak? I know you had sent a message earlier that you may not be able to speak. I don't know if it was for full time. Let me check the chat whether you said you not speak for full time. Okay, you're not able to talk right now. So, Sister Tapua, if you're in a position to talk anytime, please let me know. Or permit me to engage the text a bit as other members also form their thought process, as I like to also to share my thinking. If Brother Kwame will be home ready, Brother Kwame, let me know also so that you can join and share your thinking with us. But let me take this opportunity also to share my thinking. Now, Nkrumah, initially, as we look at the first chapter, the first paragraph, he was focusing on a revolution and a social milieu. If I pick something a bit from the last chapter, it says that some few sentences here that might help me first of all to start building on this is ideology of revolution. Let me pick it a bit, and then I can share my thinking. Something like this. So if I pick this, now Nkrumah says that in the case where the philosophy conformed to a social milieu, which means when the philosophy conforms with the social order of a society, it implies something of the ideology of that society. So as we are saying down here that philosophy is then an instrument of ideology, so in a society where its philosophy conforms to that societal order, then it also implies the ideology of that society, which means that society embraces that philosophy. Now, in other case in which philosophy opposes the social order, it implies something of an ideology of a revolution against the social milieu. So if the societal philosophy is not in line with such society, then it implies that the ideology of a revolution in that society. So one I want to connect to that is that one, in line with this text we are reading now today, is that Brother Kwame has explained a bit on the revolution, and every revolution is a program. But I want to insist on this. I want to look at this with an element of asking ourselves, who are the revolutionaries? And as Brother Koko said very well, that this class or this program might appear to be a revolution. Some might not know, because some might expect that the revolution must be armed struggle. But you're engaging in a mental revolution. We're engaging in trying to understand the society so that our mind can then form some revolutionary thoughts that then can then either, as he says, either take us back to what we lost or help us fight for a new thing. But first of all, to comment in the first sentence, every true revolution, that brings the element of that there is fake revolution. Not even a counter-revolution, a fake revolution. Some of us might say that the so-called Zimbabwean revolution, when they rather removed so-called Mugabe, was a fake revolution. I would say, for example, in 2022, when I first attempted to be a presidential candidate in my country, William Ruto moved a narrative of hustlers, the poor people. And the poor people actually help William Ruto to be the president. But it is a fake revolution because it did not transform to the material condition in terms of our principle of materialism. It did not transform to improving the material condition of the so-called hustlers. Which means it might have either conformed to the spiritual thing of idealism, but the basis of our revolution and the principle of our revolution at this particular moment is materialism. So you look at the material condition of the people. If the revolution did not lead to transforming the material condition of the people, then it's not a true revolution. So this is very clear that we, the progressive Pan-Africans, must look at the revolutions happening across the continent and ask ourselves, is it a true revolution? Then the next thing I want to comment on is saying that a true revolution is a program. The word program. Now, some of what we saw, for example, in Sudan, if you remember the story of Omar al-Bashir in Sudan, and even what we saw in Kenya, where in Sudan, people just protested in the street because of the killing. And because they consistently appear on the street for a period of time, they were able to put much pressure for Omar al-Bashir to go home. We call it a revolution. Did it have a program based on that explanation alone? No, because what makes a program is not just an event. It's a thought process that then defines the basic principles and the tenets of what we want. And that's the problem I've been having with so many movements that then generated from the so-called the 25th June in Kenya when we protested against the finance bill. Actually, it's going to be 1 year in 2 months' time or 1 month's time about what happened in Kenya. Now, if you go back to Kenya again, what happened in Kenya? In Kenya, people just went out to protest. I participated in several protests, including a protest of Thursday before the Tuesday. The Tuesday protest where many young people broke into the parliament and some were shot. I had actually left home and boarded a public vehicle to be in town. Just along the way, we were stopped and told that there's no vehicle allowed to be in the city. And it was very far from the city, so I couldn't walk to make it. But the Thursday before that, I was in the street. I was tear gassed and I was sprayed water and many things else. But again, it didn't have a program. It was just an event of people agitating for something. So they went out to agitate for tax. Say that it was never successful. It was. Because the taxation that they were complaining against through the finance bill, the president then did not sign it. So the president accepted and confirmed with what the demands of the younger people. And actually the tax, the finance bill was withdrawn. In fact, the government for the first time operated without a finance bill. So it was successful. But the question is, was it having a program? It wasn't. To my own thinking and to as a person who participated in the process, I don't think it is a program. Now is when people are coming with some program of other movements, organizing yourself to take over power. The next thing is that the element that is this text in, it must be general, positive, and organic. The elements of revolution must be positive. Now that's what speaks to what Sister Ida was asking again. Was the Hitler actions of killing so many people positive? And the people will ask, it depends on who you are. Maybe to the followers of Hitler it was positive. But to the general population, was it positive? Whatever is going on in Rwanda or Congo now, I don't want to accuse, but it's in public domain, that the Rwandans are asserting their rights that they need to do something in Congo. Do you think it's positive? The Kenyans have sent their soldiers in Haiti to go attack the Haiti group. Is it positive what Kenyans is doing? So those are the few things that then comes to my mind when I ask myself about this. But the question again is organic. What is the meaning of organic? So these are a few things that still we have to ask about. Is the revolutions you are seeing really organic? Yes, some are organic. But let me pause there first of all and get what Sawindok has to say. Sawindok? And anybody want to share their thinking in regards to what I've shared also, my thinking, can they come in?
Yeah. No, you can come in, my brother.
No, go ahead first. Go ahead.
Okay. My issue is with Mancini. The last paragraph, first sentence. Here, Mancini asserts the connection between a revolution and an ideology. Where does he leave the philosophy?
The philosophy, as you have said, is an instrument of an ideology.
And the other way around is also assertive.
So it means when he talks of an ideology, he basically touches on philosophy. He basically also implies the philosophy in that text.
Wow. It's a big wow.
Yeah, there's still confusion.
Maybe that is the dialectics that Brother Kwame has said.
But Sawindok, if I draw attention to the previous paragraph above here, which says the one I highlighted with the blue.
Yeah.
In which, if the philosophy opposes a social milieu, it implies something of an ideology of a revolution against that social milieu.
Yeah, what about it?
Then it says philosophy in its social aspect can therefore be regarded as a pointing up an ideology. So when you ask where is the philosophy, then you know that the philosophy is behind the ideology in that text. It's somewhere, maybe it was cut by the sentence, but you know when he talks of revolution and ideology, you know actually what then points to ideology is the philosophy. Can you make the link?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Brother Kono, come in.
Yeah, I think we have hit on the nail. We've hit the nail on the head. Welcome's questions have hit the nail on the head, which basically is that you cannot have, in any society, you can't have a philosophy without an ideology, and vice versa. And that they feed each other. That the philosophy of that society feeds into its ideology, and this ideology feeds the philosophy. Yeah. The question is, which one comes first? And our answer will be that
both.
I I was
topic.
expecting that.
Yeah, the argument, you can make the argument that one has to give birth to the other, that they can't give birth to themselves at the same time. If you look at it from that point of view, then ultimately it is a philosophy that will give birth to the ideology, which then feeds the philosophy.
Thank you. A very
Uh-huh.
big thank you.
Yeah. So, because if you think about it, if you start a small group, just a small group, if 10, 15, 20 of you decide to start a new country, yeah, and you go and settle somewhere in wherever, yeah, you have to decide which principle you will use to manage your society. Now, once you make that decision, then you choose your ideological tools in line with that philosophical position. So then you would say, for instance, all of us will own the land. Yeah, and that's that ideological position, because that is on the ideological position on land ownership. In other words, then the land ownership becomes the instrument of the ideology, which is that we should all own the land. But then that has come because of our philosophical position that we are all equal. So if you look at it in terms of which one comes first, we can argue that the philosophy has to come first. It then creates its ideological tools, which then affirm or empower, however word you want to use, the philosophy. And then the philosophy being empowered then gives birth to or strengthens the ideology. Then the ideology then empowers the philosophy, and it goes like a cycle. Yeah.
Brother Kwame,
Yes.
if you can remind me before I go to Brother Kokos who's on this app, sometimes back we came across concept like reductionism, remember such concept? What were they?
Yeah, so those if you recall, let's recall them. They were reductionism,
Constructionism,
constructionism,
and nominal. Was it nominalism?
And nominalism, yes.
Yes.
Now, why did those come up? They came up because we needed to understand how, if matter constitutes our universe, how come that we have apples, oranges, bananas, tigers, eagles, human beings? How come we have all these? So that was the question that we needed to answer. And to answer those questions, you need philosophical tools. And those provided us with the tools to understand. And then you say, so it means when you see water, you see a river, you see it's the sea. So ultimately, it's H2O. When you reduce it to its material basis, it is two atoms of hydrogen, and one atom of oxygen combining to form a molecule of water. So when you reduce it, that's what reductionism means. When you reduce it to its basic elements, you come across matter. Oh, can you hold on? Thank you very much.
Okay. Brother Koko, please go ahead as Brother Kwame will come in. Brother Koko, can you hear me?
Wow. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, please go ahead. Brother Koko will come in once you finish.
Am I making
Oh, Brother Kwame, you're back.
Am I making sense?
Yeah, just finish them. Brother Coco coming. I was engaging Brother Coco when you were away.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I was just answering your question. So once you understand it, that's fine. Let's move on.
Okay. Brother Coco, please come in.
All right, thank you. I won't spend too long because I'm not a teacher like my brother, Kwame, who also, elaborates in such details, such great details that it's clear for every one of us. We are thankful for that. I would like to add on to what he already said, in that philosophy provides the groundwork, for critical evaluation. And the ideology, then it become the questions. It become, the answers. The ideology provides the answer to the questions which are asked by the philosophy, and then the sort of the framework. It becomes more of the philosophy is broader. Is a broader field of critical inquiry, which then explores the fundamental ideas, and then ideology takes those ideas and selects the most applicable ones based on that philosophy. And I think he has already said that there is a cycle. It's not an ending. It's a never-ending cycle. We go back to the philosophy. We develop our ideologies. We continue building that philosophy, and so on and so forth. All right. I hope that's clear, Wynhoek, before I delve into what I wanted to say tonight. So, importantly,
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, cheers. Importantly, what we as Africans have experienced was a revolution. But this revolution came from outside, all right? There will be a revolution. By a revolution, we mean a sudden change, an upheaval in the way we do things. So it's a move from the existing order to a new order. All right, is that clear? With the revolution, it could be bloody, it could be bloodless. There could be a technological revolution, there could be an economic revolution, there could be a cultural revolution, as it happened with China. China went back and as Africans. That's what made them so successful, because they continue in their own ways. So what I had wanted to say to Brother Kwame is that going back, Sankofa can be a revolution. It's not necessarily just a reform. Reform is, it takes a longer time than a revolution. A revolution is sudden. It's an upheaval. It moves us from point A to point B in a relatively shorter time than what a reform does. Reform will take hundreds of years. Whereas a revolution will be sudden. Okay? Let's hope that's clear. Yes.
Oh, Brother Kwame had accepted the same notion. Brother Kwame had accepted the same notion that even that process of a reform is also can be argued to be a revolution as well, and he had no issue with that as well also.
No, I understood. That's why I said I wanted to interject. He was speaking, but he went back and corrected it. So we are on the same level. I think he understands that now. So the other important thing coming from the revolution, which was forced on the Africans from outside, was their education. I say education here because we have been told or taught to only think in terms of specializations. All right, reading the paragraph which Dr. Nkume put there, digesting it, I just realized that this guy, he was a generalist. He sort of understood economics, he understood politics, he understood philosophy. And we all know why, because he took time and learned all of them when he was in America. And he was also studying when he was in the UK, which he didn't finish and had to go back to Ghana. But it's important for us to understand that the revolution which we have been made to adapt to is a specialism which is falsely ascribed to the so-called Adam Smith. And Adam Smith didn't even say that, because Adam Smith was against specialism. Specialization makes you lose touch on other things. It doesn't have people who think on a more broader basis, on a more holistic basis in economy, in terms of markets. When you're a politician, you think differently, but you have to combine the teaching, and that's what the Africans were doing before the revolution came, was enforced on them.
Brother Coco.
And Batakwan was yeah.
Now, that education you are referring to, can it be considered like a program for a revolution?
I'll come to the program in a minute, if that's what you want me to talk about. Yeah, I'll come to the program.
Brother Coco,
what I was about to talk about. Continue.
Brother Coco, what I was saying, you said that, for example, when the whites came and tried to instill their revolution through education, and I'm seeing education being more of like a revolutionary program they were trying to change our mind with.
It is. It is. Absolutely, you are right. So I was going to explain a program in terms of contradiction. Contradiction, which I have here, is there's a program, and then there's a project. Okay. A project is usually shorter and has specific goals, scope, and quality that is defined, that has to be achieved within that specific time. And the budget is set within that specific time. But a program is more complex, more longer term, and usually its end products are benefits. Whereas with the project, the end benefits are tangible. We are going to build a school. We're going to see a school there. But a program, on the other hand, you're going to see the skills of the children or the knowledge or the qualifications that the kids who come from that school bring to the nation. So longer term versus shorter term is important. Tangible versus intangible. And the program, then let's talk about the program in the context of organic. It's important to understand the words. We learned English, but most of the time we just learn English to communicate. But what he has done there is to use both organic. He used organic and principle in one phrase. What that is meant to do is to help you understand that there's a system involved. All right? By the system, I mean, when we say organic, there are organs within a system, and those organs are interrelated, interdependent, mutually dependent, let me say that. So when we say organic principles, we are talking about all of these things working together to form a system, to form a program. That's why he said that. The organic principles that form a program of a revolution. So a revolution is not just one time, or let's not say, it's not just one time most of the time. It will have to happen over time, linking different things. That's why then we'll have an ideology informing philosophy, and a philosophy informing ideology. So there is that cycle which is never ending. It's important for us to understand that. Okay? So again, I hope I have also clarified the point about the philosophy being the foundation and ideology being the specific goals that we use to sort of achieve what we want to achieve. Okay? I hope I've covered most of what was discovered in that, what was discussed in that paragraph. Let me know if there's anything else you would like me to cover. Thank you.
Oh, I'm impressed. Brother Kwame? I don't have anything more to add on what Brother Coker said. And yes, Brother Kwame, you can come in. Let me know. There are two sisters who haven't spoken, Sister Tapua and Sister Myra. They're the only people who haven't spoken. But Sister Myra or Tapua, anytime you're ready, let me know so that you can come in. You know, Brother Kwame?
Yeah, my question to Brother Coco is that they are organizing a conference, and the conference's write-up starts with the statement Ubuntu is spirituality. Now, according to our study, when you say that, and then they go on to say the totality, everything. In our study, what we've studied so far from chapter 1 to now tells us that when you say that spirit and their and ideas, which are intangibles, if you like, in a sense, constitute the universe, that is idealism. That is not materialism. That is idealism. So my concern with the way Ubuntu is being presented is that whereas it subscribes to materialist goals, it is rooting itself in the enemy, which is idealism. Because imperialism is an idealist philosophy, which believes in hierarchy. Whereas Ubuntu, as I understand it, rejects hierarchy and accepts equality. If that is the case, then Ubuntu cannot be spirituality. This is mine. When I come to the meeting tomorrow, this is what I'm going to come and emphasize, and then explain more in detail, because this class is not an Ubuntu class as it were. So that is my concern with the way it is being presented. In other words, my concern is with its philosophical origin as it is being presented. Brother General here has already told us in his presentations that when he talks about the Anunnaki and presents on the Anunnaki and our ancestors and talks about spirituality, he makes it clear that what he means by the word spirituality is energy. He's already explained that. And in one of our classes, if you recall, we agreed that if spirituality means energy, and General is here, he can contradict me if I'm not recollecting what he said correctly. But I heard him clearly say that spirituality is, when we say spiritual, we mean energy. And Brother Carrington, who will join us next month when he's rested enough, then went on to say that since in physics, energy, E equals mc squared, which also is in consensusism, as we'll see when we get to chapter 4, then there is no argument. Because energy, if energy is spirituality, well, that is matter anyway. So we have no problem with that. Because energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. So there's no problem there. So it is a way that they put it. So I'm just going to, when I join to, I'm just going to encourage them to clarify, because if they don't, then what will happen is that people will think that they are talking about God and angels and therefore hierarchy, and that the universe is a pyramid and God is at the top. And then you have angels between Michael, Gabriel, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then we have a hierarchy of life. And then you have humans, and you have animals, then you have birds. And that kind of philosophy is not going to help us fight the enemy. It fits into the enemy's philosophy. And I would urge them to give more thought to give more thought to the philosophical position that, but as I said, we will deal with that. We will deal with that tomorrow when we are there. But I just want to say today that I've heard everything that Brother Koko has said, and yeah, and yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Brother Kwame. And I want to also point out it might be text or some people behind the formulation of text, and maybe we will have to get to that when we meet tomorrow. But I believe there might be texts that were put in place by other people from different view that might then dilute the total notion. Because from your talks, you don't have issue with it being in aspect of our welfare and our well-being as people, which is basically on the material aspect. So I think those will be clarified when the conference takes place tomorrow. But I believe the text might not also be totally defended. Probably persons behind the text might have also have some of their own thoughts to be put, which might not be a standard thought of what the philosophy or what Ubuntu is all about. But I believe, Brother Koko, we will have to engage this tomorrow and maybe see how we explain some few things. At the end of the day, we are not here to defend. We are in a conversation to learn and also improve one another. Because when we take a defense position, sometimes then it doesn't become a conversation, it's more of move like an argument. But in the process of educating one another, we'll have to try to explore our thinkings in different directions. Because dialectic sometimes can also lead to convergence or divergence. So at the end of the day, we just have to engage in such conversation. But Brother Kwame, thanks for pointing it out. And I believe we'll have to engage this further with the team tomorrow when we have that conference. But Koko, that maybe also sparks a lot of interest for us to join and many people to join and have this open conversation. I believe it will be an open rather than a rigid conversation. So you so far you've said you're okay with what Brother Koko said, which I'm also in line with on how he tries also to link various things in his thoughts in regards to that quotation by Mazini. I'll go to Sister Myra and Sister Tapua, and Brother Koko, I'll come back to you in terms of you sharing your thinking, but also answering the question Elder Sam had asked initially, which I tried to explain or answer, is why Nkrumah picked Mazini and decided to put his quote in this context. And I know you'll be able to answer that maybe as I take first of all the two comments from our sisters. Sister Myra or Sister Tapua, are you in any position now to share your thinking?
I think most of what I was going to say has already been said, but I think the author is going back to the concept that any ideology that comes up must solve the social needs of the people. And therefore, the revolution must also solve the problems of the people and not compound them. That sentence, though, that really caught my eye was the principle has to be general, positive, and organic. So I'm trying to kind of think about what these words mean in this context. So organic to me means something natural, something that comes from within us. So in this in our context as Africans, then that would be materialism. So, okay, then for the imperialists, that was ideology because that's what's natural to them. General, I'm thinking it goes back to the quote from Mazini, which says that its development must be confined to believers. So everyone must buy into this revolution. The word positive, though, if the imperialists imposed a revolution on us, it wasn't positive. But I'm thinking, does that mean positive in direction? For them, they were moving forward. They were marching along. So it's kind of more of a vectorial description, I think. So I guess for us, we also have to be moving forward. This is what I take as the meaning of the word positive. Yeah, that's my thoughts. Thanks.
Brother Kwame, can you come in on that?
Yeah, Sister Myra, there's another meaning of positive that you might find interesting.
Mm.
The other meaning of positive is when in science we try to distinguish what is and what ought to be.
Mm.
So when we say positivity in scientific terms, we mean that it is a reality. It is real. It's not just in my mind. I can see it. It is there. I can touch it. You can touch it. It is not in the mind. It's not an image. It's not something we are conjuring. It's not something that only you can see. We all have access to it. It is a road. We can all see that's a road. We can all drive on it. You don't have to convince me that it's a road. I can see it myself, etc., etc. And that is another meaning of the word positive in scientific terms. Am I making sense?
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So in this context, it says, so it's meaning that whatever changes come with this revolution that we're fighting for, they have to be tangible to
Yes.
everyone equally, and
It has to be tangible to the people. Like, yeah.
okay.
Yes, like you've just said, if it is solving the problems of the people, then the people must feel it. You can't say you're solving the people's problem, and then they are still
When-
having the same problem. You say, well, I've solved it. Well, if you have, it is not positive. They can't feel it. There's no change in their life. So there is that. So I hope you find that useful, basically.
very, very useful. Thank you very much.
Brother Kwame, will you have to maybe comment on our issue in regards to being general and organic, based on what Sister Mary is trying to share her thoughts on?
Yeah. So yeah, my understanding, general, I think, has been understood. When something is general, it means what? It applies to everything. Yeah. So if you create a society that is based on monarchy, which means that one individual is the king, and he or she, or the queen, and he or she defines all of society. So the courts are her courts, the revenue service are hers or his, the inspectors, whatever the inspectors are, whether the inspectors of police, prisons, education, they all belong to her. The High Court, the Supreme Court, everything emanates from that monarch. Then that is general. Am I making sense? That is general. Everything in that society takes its root from the principle that this monarch is a ruler over all and is not subject to any law imposed by what it has created. So a monarch normally makes laws for the people, but does not obey those laws, him or herself. So the monarch is above the law in that sense. And so that is what we mean by general. It defines everything. Positive, as we've explained, is that it is tangible, it's real. We can all see it and touch it. And then the third one, organic. I think Brother Coco explained that very well in terms of the organicist view. When we say something is like, as he explained, an organ. If you take the human body, we have so many organs, don't we? We have the eye as an organ. We have the heart as an organ. We have our breathing system as an organ. We have our digestive system as an organ. We have our brain, etc., etc. And yet all these organs operate as one system. So I think Brother Coco explained that very well. And
Brother Kwame,
yeah.
Do that element of organic also bring some element of unity? Because if it's organic, it means they're working together of various segments.
Yes. Any organ that's not unity will die. If the heart starts beating, the animal will die. So if there's no unity, If the brain is not working as it should, you go mad. Because the brain is not what it should be. So yes. So if it is organic, it means that it's so in terms of biology, those who are biologists here, please help us here. In terms of biology, when something is organic, doesn't it mean that it has life? Yeah, it has life, isn't it? Yeah, that's what it has life. So something that is an organ has life in it. So it's a living thing. So that means that you can't say you have a revolution and the thing is dead and you are saying it's alive when everybody can see it's dead. In other words, nobody can see its fruits. Nobody can see it working.
Oh, you are answering the question Sister Tapua has raised in the chat, whether there was a revolution if the results of the fruit cannot be seen.
Yeah, if the fruits cannot be seen, it may mean different things. It could mean that the principle is dead. Yeah, if it's okay with everyone, I use the example of conception. If a man deposits semen in a woman and the semen does not fertilize the egg in the ovary, then there will be no conception. And if there's no conception, we cannot see a pregnancy. And we will not see a baby after 9 months. So if the principle is alive, if the semen fertilizes the egg and it's alive and it's kicking, it's growing in the womb, of course, Sister Tapura is right. You will have to see the fruits. Otherwise, there was no conception.
It's a nice way to simplify it. Sister Ida, we have 8 minutes to go. Allow me to go to Sister Ida, then Sister Tapua briefly. But the call will just come in to also just bring us to an end because we try to finish it as soon as possible. But Sister Ida?
I sort of wanted to query the word positive because most people think positive is good. You said positive can all see and touch, but oh gosh, I'm losing it. But positive doesn't necessarily mean positive for everybody, because for instance, the British would have said that what they did in Kenya resulted in a positive move for them, whereas it's not positive for everybody. So I'm semi querying that positive is always for good.
Sister Ida.
Yes.
Precisely. The point you've made is a point that Sister Myra raised.
Oh,
that's what she had.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what she had difficulty with the word positive, because she was saying that if the imperialists came and did what they did, how is that positive? How is that positive? If they foisted a revolution on us, how is that positive?
Yes.
So I was explaining, that's why I brought the other meaning of positive, which in science, when you say something is positive, you mean that it exists, it is real.
It's a one, I take it as it's the one side of a line.
It can be both sides, but the point here, Sister Ida, is that it doesn't mean that that thing that exists is good for everybody or bad for everybody or good for some. That's not the point. The point there is that that thing exists, and it is differentiate. So in science, in scientific discourse, that is used to differentiate what I would like to happen from what is happening. So we say what is and what ought to be. So what ought to be is what we would like to happen. But what is what is. And so in scientific discourse, that is called positivity or the positive. And remember that in quoting Mazzini, Nkrumah is quoting what is regarded as revolutionary science. Remember, there's a science called revolutionary science, yeah? And this quote, this Mazzini quote is part of it. Now, Mazzini, a lot of people sometimes forget that the Italians had a revolution, the Germans had a revolution, and the French had a revolution, the Americans had a revolution. Sometimes we forget that some of these countries had, in fact, the English also had their own revolution, and they cut off the head of the king and so on. So I know you don't like that, Sister Ida, very much, but the point is, I'm merely saying that there are different meanings of positive, and positive is not a description of what you think ought to have happened to someone. It's a description of what is. I hope that helps.
Brother Kwame, I think that also helps in line with how we understand it. Because if it implies what you are saying, then it changes everything. If it implies what you are thinking, then it all also changes everything, and that's why it becomes more questionable.
What does that mean, brother? Brother Pigeon?
Now, what I say is that if it implies the presence of reality, then it changes what you think about it. But if it implies something good, also changes how we look at it. So if you consider revolution being positive in the aspect of it's good, people are celebrating, you see, the other side of whoever has killed you is celebrating that he has killed you. But you who has lost somebody, you're not celebrating. So if you take positive in that aspect, then there's a total difference in it. But if you take positive in the aspect that there's a killing that has taken place and you confirm to it that's actually real, then also there's a difference in that, especially when it comes to a revolution.
Yeah. That is, go on, welcome.
That is highly philosophical, Brother Pigeon.
But I come here to be a doctor of philosophy.
Well, Pigeon, you have a doctorate in concepts of many.
No, it will be wrong if I don't get Sister Tapua, and it's only 3 minutes left. But Sister Tapua has been raising issues in the chat. She has asked one question that is very important as we close this meeting, probably, is if Mazini is saying that a true revolution is a program or must have a program, what is our program for African revolution at this context? What is our program for revolution as Pan-Africanists? We have one. Do we need to develop one?
We read the book every week, Sister Tapaha. That's our revolution.
General Donaki had said in the beginning that our class is a program already for a revolution. But again, still a question. Sawindo, what do you think about that?
Conscience. Yeah, I agree with what Sister Ida and Brother Welcome have said. This is our revolution.
Okay.
Thank you. We want to change people's thinking. Yeah, that is our revolution, because thinking is key to how one perceives the world, and therefore thought and how and what one does, hence action. In order for you to link action that will transform lives for the better, you have to write the right thoughts, or the correct thoughts, or the relevant thoughts. And therefore you need someone to teach you how to think correctly. Because thinking correctly is itself a science. Let me stop there. But basically, I agree with Brother Welcome and Sister Ida.
Thank you. Unfortunately, we are coming to an end of our class. Of course, I think Brother Koko had confirmed that the white men came with the revolution through education. So therefore, education was a program for their revolution. And I know Sister Tapua has been a proponent of education as well. And whatever we are doing here is educating ourselves. And that education that we're educating ourselves is also a program for a revolution, because it speaks back to what we think and how we view the world. And I think Biko said that the greatest tool in the hand of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. So whatever we are trying to do by educating or re-educating ourselves, then lead us to what we want at the outcome. Sister Ida, is exactly time. What do you want to say?
Yes, I know, but I wanted to welcome Brother Faulkner, who's come in. And
yeah, I want to recognize the presence of
tomorrow.
Yeah, I want to recognize the presence of Brother Fokwa. Brother Fokwa is coming very late. Brother, come you remember Brother Fokwa did for us the Knights Templars.
Oh, the spiritual, yeah.
Yes,
But
yes, I do.
also
And
because it's not our program, but there's a program tomorrow that he might be interested in, which
Brother Coco.
about whether Ubuntu is spiritual. Well, for us, is spiritualism or is materialism.
Okay.
Thank you.
Brother
Just speak
Fokwa,
about it and tell us.
Brother Fokwa, feel most welcome. In fact, Brother Kwame, I found Brother Fokwa had posted the notification for our class in his Facebook page for his Ministry of Spirituality. So it was very impressive when I was going to Facebook today. He had posted the link to invite members to our class. Maybe he had missed the time. But Brother Fokwa, I cannot end without just giving you an opportunity just to say hi. But I'll give you an update so that you join us next time in the right time. Brother Fokwa, please. It's been time.
Thank you so much for that very, very, very lovely introduction. Sorry, I've been so occupied with so many things, honestly. It's not been easier personally, financially, but like we all know how the work actually is as Pan-Africanists, those of us who are African conscious. It's something that is not a day's job. It's not a day's job. So I'm always promoting the forum, encouraging people, making sure that we stay on the path. You see with the recent innovations that Captain Traore too has brought to our continent, it shows you that we're all definitely on the right track. Our energies are combining. There's one collective consciousness that is motivating all of us. So definitely I will be fighting as I'm finding more time now to be freer and exercise myself in more activities. So definitely tomorrow I will make a pit stop for that. I'm sure it'll be in the evening because during the day I have to run around with my mother who's come in from the US to do one or two issues. But I think if it's at this time, actually what happened is that she forgot her phone at one hotel that she had gone out to. So I was in the house preparing to be in the program, but then I had to drive her now all the way back out there to collect the phone before I'm just coming in. Otherwise, I would have been able to participate. So tomorrow, I'll definitely keep that on my agenda so that I fit in, so that we keep this energy up live.
Thank you. Thank you. When Brother Fokwa talks of energy, he's talking about the spirits as an energy. So thank you very much. Brother Kwame, just a quick reminder of the Saturday session.
So I think I haven't got my laptop open, but I think it's to do with identity, Pan-African identity.
Okay.
And, to Brother Fokwa, Wezo or Akwaba.
Yes, that's what we say in Ghana, Akwaba, my brother. Akwaba. Thank you very much.
Okay, I didn't know what you said, but anyway, thank you very much for your attendance today and your participation. We were to get Brother Kwame Owusu, but he sent his late apology. So he'll be joining us next time. Kwame Owusu is one of the few members who shook hand with Nkrumah back on those days. So he has followed that as he's interested in what you're doing, and probably will join us also to see what you're doing as well to the man he greeted and shook hand with when the man was still alive. So thank you very much, comrades. We are looking forward to the Saturday session and the next week's sessions, and all this recording for these sessions will still be available on our YouTube channel as we do it every time. And yes, we are fostering African identities. That will be the topic for our next week. So comrades, we will have a lovely evening. Let's do our best. This is what you're doing, and this is our revolution. Thank you very much, and have a lovely evening.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank
all.
you. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good evening, everybody. Bye.
Good night, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.